Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. As it turns out, though, I just had me a few connection problems that I am working out as we speak. As it turns out, one of our interesting occurrences is, as usual, our connection to the internet failed us temporarily, but guess what? Just as soon as you heard that explosion, in that Politics Done Right explosion, we got that stuff taken care of. So what I'm doing right now as we speak is queuing us up at the other areas where we need to be queued up. But it's important that I tell you something, folks. It's getting serious. Yesterday was the 4th of July. I asked everybody who could hear my words to completely and entirely disregard it altogether, right? Why did we want that disregarded? Here's the truth. The truth of the matter is that 4th of July celebration was a sham. It was what we called a vanity affair. The Trump administration wanted to have a vanity affair. He got his vanity affair for the few who were, I don't want to say foolish enough to listen to it, but who enabled him in that regards. And what we are going to try to do, folks, is make sure and talk about the real stuff. We're going to talk about the real stuff because you know what we did with the Kingwood Area Democrats back yesterday as we marched and showed people that we were real people and what we were all about. But most importantly, what we also did is at our booth in that, not Times Square, I was going to say Times Square, Town Park, what we made sure to show is we made sure to show who we really were, people that other people wanted to be. They supported the policies that we wanted to talk about. So we did our job. We did what was necessary to be done to move the message forward. And you know what? I think we did a great job about it. I mean, everybody that was there was not convinced that the progressive way is the way to be going forward. But I tell you what was interesting. They listened. They listened diligently. They wanted to hear what we had to say. And you know what? We did our job. Share, please. Bear with me as I get this stuff queued up because I'm still getting that done. But I'll be done in 2 seconds here. And then I want to ask you folks, as you are watching this, to please go ahead and share this as well. And why do we need to do that? The reason we need to do that, folks, is because absent us taking care of business ourselves, nobody's going to do it for us. Anyhow, I got that all queued up. So here's how I want to start. The title of the show today is Conservatives Are Told to Be Scared of Change That Offers Access to Success to All. I know that sounds kind of strange. I want to repeat that. Conservatives are told to be scared of changes that offer access to success to all. The subtitle of the show is A Conversation with a Friend Made It Clear to Me. It made it absolutely clear to me of two things. What were these two things? Conservatives are made scared of changes that offer success to all, believing it is at their expense, and secondly, that they want to fight for something they've never, ever really had. Many conservatives live in a very scary bubble. Because of a well-orchestrated bubble that the Plutocracy instigated by the Powell Manifesto and other methods, conservatives, yes, they are very scared. They now have the belief that the systemic changes that we must make to our economy to bring equal access to success is at their expense. They are wrong. As the red states and those adopting said ideology are the ones that would benefit the most. The ideologies that we progressives are pushing are in the best interest of all those people that call themselves conservatives or fighting against. The progressives should use that reality to personalize the policies required in this systemic change. That is the only way we will earn the trust of enough of them to make a difference. I'm going to talk a little bit about later on what I think the Democratic mistake is right now in not talking up to these people, but talking down to them. In other words, not getting on their level. In other words, you don't talk down. You bend down or you scoot and you look them in the eye, and that's where you talk. You don't talk like if you're in an ivory tower pointing down. What you get a chance to do is do a lot of listening, but also do a lot of working. But before I get all started into this, I want to give a shout out to Mayor Pete Buttigieg. And the reason why is the way he handled a question about when, and by the way, everybody's making a big hoot about this this heckler. Now, it wasn't a heckler, somebody that seems like he was a part of the audience shooting out a question. Tell black people that if they don't want to be shot by the cops, go ahead and stop doing drugs and all of that. Don't think that that was some Democrat there. That was a plant. That was likely a plant. Well, let me back up. That was either a plant from the Republicans or a Democratic opponent. I have a hunch it's more likely a plant by Republicans who wanted to kind of bring things up like that. I thought it was a good thing, though. I thought it was something that they should bring up, and I was happy the way Buttigieg handled it. But I also want to give some kudos to Yamiche Alcindor from MSNBC, who kind of schooled people on exactly what that meant, that interchange meant. Because not every time you get the necessary analysis by the so-called journalists as what's going on. So before we get into the topic of the show, what I want to do is I want to play that little snippet that I picked up from MSNBC. And also, I want to remind all you guys that this is a call-in show, 646-716-5812. Again, that is 646-716-5812. I would love to hear from all of you. Here we go.
There was an exchange at a Pete Buttigieg event in Iowa yesterday that caught our attention. Listen to this.
I have a solution for you. I'd like you to make a comment on my proposal. But just tell the black people of South Bend to stop committing crime and doing drugs. Sir, I think racism is not going to help us get out of this. The fact that a black person is 4 times as likely as a white person to be incarcerated for the exact same crime is evidence of systemic racism. It is evidence of systemic racism. With all due respect, sir, racism makes it harder for good police officers to do their job, too. It is a smear on law enforcement.
Yamiche, how did the mayor handle that?
Well, one, I think the question is, of course, incredibly racist. This idea that black people are somehow out committing more crime than white people is just a farce and completely false. That being said, I think Mayor Pete Buttigieg handled this in a way that I think a lot of people are going to say, even from Democrats and Republicans are going to say, went over well, which is that he was able to call that out and say, that's racist, we shouldn't do that. And also, here's some data to back up what I'm saying, which is that African Americans are more likely to be incarcerated for the exact same crimes that they do, even if a white person did the same thing. So I think what we have there is Pete Buttigieg, again, taking responsibility and saying, here's the things that we need to change. I think that's also been the case when you talk about how he's been handling this shooting by a white officer and shooting a black man. Mm-hmm. There, he said, you know what, the buck stops with me. I need to figure out this. I need to take responsibility as mayor. I need to come off the campaign trail. I think what we're seeing further out and more broadly across all the candidates is really, at least on the Democratic side, is really them trying to tackle the issue of race and really trying to be upfront and blunt about it. I think people, especially Democratic base is really looking for a candidate who can authentically talk about race and just say, put bluntly what most people understand, which is that African Americans are seen and treated differently by the criminal justice system, by the education system, by the healthcare system in a lot of different ways, and that these candidates need to now have plans for that. I think that's what the hunger is on the Democratic side.
Her analysis was excellent. So before I get into the subject at hand, I want to point out one thing. These are the numbers. A lot of people like to use statistics. When they say, well, the FBI statistics says this, when they're trying to prove how the crime by minorities, by blacks, by Latinos versus a crime by the majority population, whites, etc. Here's the thing that everybody should know about data. BS in, BS out. There's something I always talk about, the community that I live in compared to the community that, let's say, where my wife is from. And it goes as follows. In Kingwood, this community that is pretty, it's a pretty white community. And what you find in this community is when kids do the wrong thing, they get a slap on the wrist. The police would direct them home. If they're doing a beer bust in the park that we have close to my home, what I've seen happen is I've seen the guys open up the keg, let the beer out, and tell those people to go home because they're underage drinkers. In other communities, what occur, specifically in minority communities, what occur is they are presented to the criminal justice system. And when the statistics are then taken, because they are presented to the system, but those in a community like mine are not, what occurs in the statistics is that they're skewed, right? If you were to just take those absolute numbers from the FBI, it would seem like one community has a crime rate higher than the other. Same thing occurs with cocaine use, etc. I remember a few years ago, there's an article in the Houston magazine, and they were talking to a drug dealer, and he said, "Oh, in Kingwood, I can unload 2 kilos of coke or some crazy amount of coke," and he said only half of it goes to the kids. And what he was trying to also illustrate in the article is that, you know, these people out here do more drugs in general than people in the minority communities. They just don't get caught. And why do we know that? They have the money to purchase these drugs. In all of these other communities, they don't have the money to purchase these hard type of drugs. They just don't. The drug use in this country, they claim, is equal among all communities, races, etc. The truth of the matter is, empirically, I can say that that is likely wrong. We know a whole lot of people in my community that are very well medicated. They're on all those drugs that are prescribed by doctors. A lot of people who don't go to doctors take these drugs on their own. So when it comes to the use of drugs and etc., we get another skewed view. Some people can afford to get these drugs that they want to medicate themselves legally, while others illegally get them because they're not buying it, getting it, a prescription it from that takes them directly to the manufacturers to it. So we have to understand statistics and how these numbers work before we start assigning blame and before we start attempting to marginalize communities for being, oh, they do drugs or like that person was trying to imply. I think until we get it right, until we start getting it right, and until we start becoming honest in the way we talk about issues and the way we don't allow the plutocracy to split us into, well, that community is more prone to violence, that community is more prone to whatever, and realize that for a community that seemed to be more prone to violence, we should ask the question, what is the genesis? For communities, and we normally find out that communities of the same socioeconomic status have a tendency to kind of behave the same. We need to start looking at things from an honest point of view. Anyhow, the subject today is titled, and I go back to that again. The subject today is titled, Conservatives are told to be scared of change that offers equal access to success. And people say, oh my God, what does he mean by that? Is that true? Is that really, really true? Unfortunately, that is really, really true. What we find, unfortunately, what we find is that, actually, let me start by doing it this way. I was at my booth yesterday, and a friend showed up. And I won't give any names or anything like that, but a friend showed up. And what he said, I hope you realize that things have really changed. And I won't go into details too much detail so that it's not, that person isn't necessarily exposed. But the idea is that he said, what you are trying to do, what you are promoting, is a fundamental change in this country's economy. What you're trying to do, I want you to know, follows all those leftist policies that causes the collapse of societies. And he went on and on about all these things that what we represent as progressives are going to do to society. Notwithstanding that all the countries around the world that practice some form of the policies that we want are not only better off for the middle class, but they have a great happy index. What it means is that people like it. People want to live that way. Folks, if you're just coming, joining us, please go ahead and share these videos because, we talk about quite important things. And by the way, telephone call 646-716-5812. And Tom Haynes, yes, Tom Haynes just wrote, yes, aircraft carriers from the 1700s. I think he's alluding to the fact that Donald Trump was talking about airports that were in the 1700s. Donald Trump doesn't write his own material, I'm pretty sure. You have to wonder the level of intellect that we have in the White House when a speech contains information about airports in the 1700s. Ask yourself, how can we be led by those kind of people? Alan Drews, welcome aboard. We were not able to fight back then. Anyhow, so going back to my friend, he said, what you're looking for is a fundamental change in our society. To which I responded, we must have a structural change in this country. The way the economy functions today does not work for most. And notice I didn't say it didn't work for some. I said it didn't work for most. And the reason it doesn't work for most is math. It's a mathematical reason it cannot work for most. And what we have to do is try to find a manner in taking away that scary feeling that many conservatives have with regards to how our economy works. I am doing a whole lot of that in the book that I'm writing called Make America Utopia, How to Make America Utopia. And the idea behind that what we're going to talk about is it is not all that difficult. What it does mean is Jeff Bezos, there's no way in living hell Jeff Bezos could have been able to accumulate $160 billion in worth at all unless he was really scamming people. There is no billionaire on this planet that could have acquired that wealth if somebody at the other end was not getting screwed. And the folks who are getting screwed will always be you. Now, it is difficult to explain that when we've been indoctrinated via the Powell Manifesto for all these years that says, okay, we live in a meritocracy, and if you create something, you can grow forever. You cannot. An economic system is a closed system. You cannot grow ad infinitum. You cannot grow ad infinitum. Nobody can grow as much as they want to in a closed economic system. You cannot. In other words, people are going to say, okay, well, I can go ahead and if I created a product and I sold 1,000 copies, and let's say 1 million people want it and I sold 1 million, all that money has to be mine. Well, that is how we define the economic system today. That is what we say, all that money is yours. But an economic system does not have to be defined that way, nor should it be defined that way, because you, as a person selling, you have been given the access to a mass. And to believe that somehow what you're selling was all based on your intellect is, I'm sorry, a bit conceited. To believe that all the products that I created, and to be honest, I've created quite a bit of products from scratch, marketed them, placed them on the market with thousands of buyers, and I never once believed that that was just the result of my intellect. I always believed it was also, yes, I played a big part, the majority part in the creation of these packages, these software packages, but I also have to look at the part that society played in that. And it was a big part. All the creation of the materials, people who created the CPUs, the central processing units, and the semiconductors that we have in computers, the things that I programmed to. I used to program semiconductors directly. All of those things were created with your tax dollars eons ago. When Intel created a lot of these things, these materials were developed at universities that they then turned into products. It's not all you. When we went ahead and created the von Neumann machines and test throughout the universities, it was done by not by corporate dollars, by public dollars, by your tax dollars. So anything that was invented subsequent to that using the intellect of others who built upon that doesn't belong to one person. So once we put that into context, once we put into context that everything that we create, everything that we invent is based on the intellect invention of others, and by the way, some of these others were slaves, meaning they didn't even get a benefit from it at all. Once we come to that realization, it is not hard to figure out, it's not hard to discern that at that point in time, what we better start doing is realizing that everybody has a stake in the game. I notice that all the messages are not coming over because I see some here. Welcome. Let's see who else we have here. Lee Grant, Tom Hines. All you guys, welcome aboard. I hadn't seen all your messages. I kind of like the DC 4th of July parade. Supported of military. Cool. Flyovers by various. Yeah, but I mean, it costs money. While we were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars per hour, couldn't that have gone to take a few of those guys right there in DC off of the streets? Why are we spending all that money there? Lee Grant, let's see. Trump has leftists so bent that they are protesting 4th of July fireworks. What's next? Mom, apple pie? We're not protesting 4th of July at all. Most of us, I enjoyed 4th of July. I had fun. I saw the fireworks. Our fireworks was kind of lousy, but in Houston it was great. I spent some time with my other Democrats. So we enjoyed 4th of July. We love the 4th of July. We just don't want what the 4th of July that Trump was putting together. So no, the one has nothing to do with the other. We were able to, let's see what else is going on here. Hi all, Tom. Yeah, thank you for being here, Lee. Anyhow, we have Masticator here. It is said that all literature is plagiarized. You know, there is something to that, Masticator, on YouTube. There's definitely something to it being, there's something to literature being, feed the, Rene Perpetua says, feed the hungry. Rene Perpetua, you're absolutely correct. There's a lot more that we could use that money for. The thing about it is if Clinton or Obama had done, let's say, that particular 4th of July presentation, that is exactly what the conservatives would be saying. They'd be saying, oh, you're wasting money, and we always talk about government waste. No, they don't say government. They want it to sound evil. We always talk about government waste. No, it's not so. But again, I want to continue talking about my friend who is, I could see in his eyes when he said, you are trying to make a fundamental change to this country. And I don't know if he expected the answer that I gave, because he may have expected me to say something like, no, that's not what I'm doing. We just want to make changes around the edge. No, we want fundamental economic change in this country, because fundamentally, every American citizen under the 80% are going broke. There is an article in the Post today. That talks about the plight that 80% of Americans are in. Samantha Sider says, money, and from YouTube, says, money would be better spent on providing insulin to those in need rather than on a parade to boost our Führers, meaning Hitler, but we don't use that, ego. Let me tell you something. And Samantha has a very important point. Let me tell you, she used insulin. And I have a very soft spot on insulin. I did a video on insulin. Insulin is a drug that is off, and this goes into what I'm talking about with my friend when I say we need fundamental economic change. Insulin is a drug that is out of patent. Insulin is a drug that is over 100 years old. Anybody can make insulin right now. Insulin was costing few $10, $20 or so a vial. I don't know, less than that a vial, okay? It's a very cheap hormone. Very cheap. You know what happened? Every year the price of this stuff goes up, doubles or more. To the point now we're paying, I think it is, and I did the video on it. Check out the video that I did on insulin. It's $700 a month or something like that, or more. I think it's actually more, quite a bit more for that on insulin. And the reason why is just because there is no fundamental economic reason for insulin to cost what it costs. The only reason it costs what it costs is there's collusion between companies who create insulin that maintain a price that it does not reflect what it costs to make. And all that extra money goes into the profit of that corporation and the shareholders. For a person to tell me that an economic system that allows that reality to occur is okay, I want to ask them, where is the morality? Somebody with diabetes somehow has to use a huge percentage of their income just because they have diabetes. This could be diabetes that is no fault of their own, meaning they're slim, they do everything right, but they have diabetes. And for that, you are telling that person that they will be forever economically deprived. Because that other person that was lucky not to have diabetes doesn't have to spend $700 a month on on insulin they don't have to have, but that person has a boat anchor on them because they happen to be unlucky to have that disease. How moral is it that an economic system that should not have that? Why do we want Medicare for all? Why do we want a healthcare system where everybody puts in a progressive amount of taxes in there, and when whoever gets diabetes, whoever gets whatever, is taken care of? There is no economic advantage on any particular person. Right now, if you happen to have had a pre-existing condition, if you happen to have had a disease that you just happen to get no fault of your own, you are forever economically disadvantaged from somebody who was just lucky not to have. And you want to talk about meritocracy? You cannot speak about meritocracy in an economic system where bad health, no fault of yours, can inflict an economic disaster on you. You cannot talk about a meritocracy in a scenario like that. And that is what many would like you to do. Anybody who's telling you Medicare for all is wrong, anybody who is telling you that some sort of a medicine where we make it even for all, every person that tells you that is lying. Okay, we have now, Rene said Big Pharma is robbing the people. Yes, and we need to crack down on them. I'm going to tell you something about Big Pharma and one of the reasons why we have to talk about that within the context of what this young man had to tell me. Rene Perpetua says, how is a health insurance CEO worth $25 million a year? We need not-for-profit health care. Our present system is literally killing us. Yes, it is literally killing us. But let me tell you better, Rene Perpetua. A CEO making $25 million a year, let me tell you what it is telling you. It is telling you that when you pay your premiums, that CEO takes, of the millions of people that are paying premiums, that CEO for doing nothing. Remember, all an insurance company does, a private insurance company does two things. A public insurance company should only have to do one thing, pay a bill. But a public insurance company has two things to do. One, to pay a bill, and two, to figure out a way not to pay your bill. That is all an insurance company does. A private insurance company's responsibility is to attempt to not pay your bill. That is their job. That is the fiduciary responsibility they have to their shareholders. Because they have to maximize profits for their shareholders, it is their intent to attempt not to pay a bill. Now, here's the deal. Here's the deal. When you see CEOs make 25 million, when you see executives in those companies make $500,000, when you see executive in these companies make $1 million, all of this money, remember where it is coming from. It is a premium that you are paying. So you pay a premium to pool up with all Americans so that you would say, okay, we are going to all pool our money together, and whoever is unlucky to get sick, we pay that bill out of that pool. Well, here's what the insurance executive says. Okay, I collect all the money that you guys are pooling together, and I take out $25 million from me. I take out $1 million for that a couple $1 million for that other that CFO. I take out another $3 million, and after I take all of that out, I start paying the bills for your health care. In other words, but before I start paying the bills for the health care, I have another loyalty. My loyalty is to that shareholder, the person who owns, or the people who own the health insurance companies. So before I pay that bill, I got some more work to do. I got to try to find a way not to pay that bill. Because the more I don't pay that bill, the more profits, the more of your money every year I can keep. And the money of yours that I can keep is my profit that I can then dispose of to those shareholders. And if I make those shareholders happy, guess what else happens? That $25 million is peanuts. I get something called a bonus. And I get more money that you paid in back. You would think in if it were ethical, if we didn't spend all the money to pay the bill, well, we could reduce the amount that you're paying in health insurance. But that's not how this economy works. We don't say, oh, we collected too much money to pay these bills. We say, oh, we collected too much money. So the extra money we collected, give it to the shareholders and we write ourselves a bonus. We took your money. And for all those people who are fighting single payer, Medicare for all, that is what you're fighting against. Now, transitioning from private health care to Medicare for all is going to be difficult. The professor gave me some drawbacks as far as paying, because we have to increase taxes, but there will be no premiums anymore. We have to be careful in how this is done so that it doesn't look like those people that are working make more money or make less money once the corporations no longer have to pay health insurance. Let me answer a few more questions like here from Rene Perpetua says, Masticator said, to be fair, diabetes can be the result of the behavior of the person. You're absolutely right. But you know what? There are a lot of behaviors that create sickness. When somebody is an athlete, let's say somebody loves to lift weights and they sprain their shoulder and they have to go see a doctor, that was also a cause of their activity that would make them more healthy. So I'm saying a lot of these things are random, some not too random, but again, if you do a lot of exercises, more than likely you'll have an exercise injury. If you eat a lot of bad food, you'll also you have a chance of having diabetes. It would be interesting for me to see the percentage of people hurt by doing exercise relative to the amount of people who get diabetes by their bad eating, because not everybody who eats badly get diabetes. So what I'm trying to say, though, Masticator, is, to be fair myself now, is that we all have our vices. So it is easy to look at somebody who eats badly and say, well, because you eat badly, it is, you're costing us more. Or that person who smokes and say, well, you're going to pay a hell of a lot more because you smoke. Or that person who drinks. There are a lot of things that we know are bad for us. There are a lot of things that we don't know are also bad for us. So we have to be very careful when we start to say, well, they're doing something to make themselves sick. We have to be very careful about that. We have to look at it in a different manner. We have to look at it from the point of view that says, hey, let's start teaching people how to live a healthier life. Let's not force it upon them. And I tell you what, you would think conservatives would like that. Have single payer with responsibility, right? That is what we would want. Single payer Medicare for all with responsibility. What the responsibility means, we have some sort of a teaching program that as we, as a society, have Medicare for all, we also teach people how to take better care of themselves. I mean, it goes without saying that if we can get to that point, it'll be okay. So going back to my friend who is very scared of the fundamental change, let's see, Masticator, let's see first. Rene Perpetua says, okay, let's back up. Masticator says, luck or unlucky is a poor determination of illness or injury. Very often it is a direct result of the decisions made. I am not, look, I don't have the stats on that. You could well be right. I don't know, Masticator. You could well be right. But I am saying still, we as human beings, we are a frail, there are a lot of things we know we shouldn't do that we do, and the fact that so many Americans so many human beings do it, maybe are just a flaw within our humanity. And what we ought to do is educate, but at the same time realize that humanity is flawed, and attempt to look at it from that point of view. Rene said, similar situation, predatory lending, education should not be for profit. I agree with you 100%, Rene, and that's when we talk about a fundamental economic change that what we're talking about. Masticator says, so are you saying that under single payer the government will not mandate behavior? No, we cannot mandate behavior, not even in a single payer system. What we have to do is encourage behavior. In fact, I think encouraging behavior would be a lot more effective than mandating behavior. It's just like the alcoholic, or just like prohibition. Remember, prohibition didn't work very well. It didn't reduce the amount of alcohol being consumed. What it did is it moved alcohol underground, and we got people losing their eyesight because of people who didn't know how to make alcohol and gave them the first few drops of alcohol, which is very toxic. So, I mean, I would love to be able to tell people you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't do that. That is bad for you. Just like I tell my daughter, you shouldn't do that. You need to. But you realize that human beings have a failure. We all have that failure. And that is that we're not 100%. I work out like hell. I wrote a book called Lose Weight and Be Well. Now, so I understand the concept. I've done it. I've changed my behavior to reduce my blood pressure, etc. But it's not easy. And there's a lot of backsliding. And so, I mean, who am I to judge? I am not the one to judge. I just try to tell people, encourage people to do the right thing. Now, so we're talking about our fundamental change. What are these fundamental changes that we're talking about that these people are so scared about? The major one that we want, the two major ones that we want firstly, are some sort of student loan forgiveness. Take the burden off the millennial generation. That generation has been stymied by student loans. And again, a professor that I was speaking to has some issues with moral hazard and what he has seen anecdotally some kids do with student loans. We don't. The one thing that he has yet to provide is what percentage. Is that something that we always talk about? Well, there's always going to be these people that game the system. What percentage? We don't quite know. And the second thing that we definitely want is Medicare for all. And Medicare for all is one of those things where that is existential. Because at the rates that healthcare goes up every year, it really sucks on, people don't have the opportunity right now to get sick. People don't have the opportunity right now. Being sick right now is a clear and present danger for the vast majority of Americans right now. And until we mitigate that, we won't solve it. But here's the problem with mitigating that. The healthcare companies, there's one particular one called the American Health, I don't remember the name of it, but Partnership for the Healthcare of America, that these guys are attempting to scare Americans into believing that a single-payer Medicare for all system is going to leave people waiting for service. It's going to leave people with a substandard health care, which is one of the biggest lies out there, because what we have today for the vast majority of Americans is substandard health care, because they want to see a specialist, they have to wait. There's no difference with that. They want to do, they want to get a particular procedure, as I've spoken about in 3 or 4 different episodes of Politics Done Right. I have a very good friend. Her husband had bladder cancer. And what happened? He had to go out there and wait. They sent him to wait. In other words, he waited while that cancer continued to grow 2 months for them to decide they will accept the procedure that the doctor said he must have, or the treatment that he must have. I want to in Medicare for all, single payer, when you have a disease like that, a disease that can spread, a disease that needs immediate care, you get it. Now, if you need a hip replacement, something that can wait 2 or 3 months, oh yeah, you're going to wait, because we want to optimize the use of our doctors. We want to optimize the use of our equipment so that we are not paying a hell of a lot of taxes. We can get as much care as we want. But what Americans have to come to the realization of is math. And it is important that we understand you cannot have, in healthcare, profit is an expense. If you have to pay the CEO of insurance companies millions of dollars, if you have to pay shareholders of insurance companies billions of dollars, if you have to pay shareholders in these many of these hospitals billions of dollars, etc., then of course your healthcare is very high. Now, for those things that don't require innovation, where you don't have to invent something, it is best to just leave it to the public sector, the government. Why? Because you're not inventing anything anyway. Paying a bill does not require the invention of anything. It's just paying a damn bill. So why have that within some sort of a system? We shouldn't. So therefore, when he tells me that what we are doing is fundamentally changing the country, to which I'm saying yes. And most Americans, after understanding what we're trying to do, after understanding that most of the spoils in this country goes to a select few, most of the profits in this country goes to the select few. And you know why? Because the select few wants their constant 7, 8, 10, 12% increase. And to do that, they have to increase the prices on the products they are in control of. And if those products that they are in control of are products that you must buy, then you must buy them. And when you must buy them, it means that if they're required to have 7-10% increase in their worth constantly, and the economy is only growing at 2%, that means that they have to constantly take more out of you. So you may get a 2% raise or a 3% raise year after year. But if they're taking out 7%, that 2% raise is going right back into paying them. So your insulin prices go up. So your health insurance prices go up. So all the prices of these products go up because they require a high percentage increase in their worth. And it comes out of your pocket. Do we need a fundamental economic change in this country? You bet we do. Is it some sort of a communist takeover? Hell no. What it is, it's making the system fair. It is finally taking the reins of a system that protects the few. It is finally doing what's right. It is finally doing what's right. And I don't know anybody who can really argue against that reality. I do not know of anyone who can argue against that reality. So to my friend who is so scared, who is so scared that we are talking about a fundamental change in our economy. My contention to him is, if we don't have a fundamental change in this economy, the system craters, the system falls, the system cannot sustain itself in the current state that it is in. So I want to, what is the word that I want to use with you? I want to not admonish. That's why would I even think of the word? I want to urge you not to fall into the trap. I want to urge you to talk to people, explain to people, explain to them what's really happening in our society, what we really need to do in our society. Because most don't. Most sit back there and just think it is okay. Most sit back there and just think, oh my God, things have to be this way. To my listeners on Facebook, welcome. I mean, not Facebook. To my listeners on YouTube, welcome aboard. Thank you for being here. Please continue to share these programs. It is so important that we do so, and the reason why it is so important that we do so is many just right now we have a media, and this is to you, Masticator. This is to you, all my other Samantha Sider. This is to you. Let's try to get people to understand that it is not us against them. It's not the progressives against the conservatives. That is what they want us to believe. They want us to believe that that is what it's all about. It is not about that at all. It is about getting a system that works for all. Folks, I want to remind all of you that this is a progressive show that needs your support. Please go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. That is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Please support us best you can. We have subscriptions that are very, very inexpensive, but we do need we need hundreds of inexpensive subscriptions to continue to be viable. So I ask you to go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Anybody who subscribed to our channel gets the full access to all the books that I write, specifically As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. If you really want to learn all the trickery in the economy, how the economy works, read that book. And again, if you're a subscriber, you can read it online. If you don't want to subscribe, you can buy it at Amazon.com. But I really would prefer if you just go ahead and subscribe to Politics Done Right, because we need you. We need you to get the progressive message out. We need you to tell people the truth, because the stations cannot tell Americans this. And you know why they can't? Because the same people that advertise, they would be they in effect would be telling people, those people who advertise with us, they are ripping you off. And they can't tell you that, but we can, because we are not owned by the plutocracy. We are not owned by the oligarchy. We are not owned by the wealthy. You are the one who support us. And we have hundreds of supporters. We actually need thousands of supporters to keep this up. I'm heading to Philly on Tuesdays. I'll be bringing you bloggers, writers, politicians from all over the country, progressives that are out there making a difference. I'll be out there. Today I start staging what we're going to look like there. I'm going to take a picture, send it out to you guys. All the subscribers would get that picture right away. Folks, look, let me tell you this. We need your support so badly. We are on fumes right now. Economically speaking, for Politics Done Right. So we need your support to go ahead and be able to continue this mission. So please subscribe. Here are all the different ways that you can help us. Let me put it on the screen. A lot of different ways. You can go ahead and subscribe at patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Again, that is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. You can donate at politicsdoneright.com/donate. Or you can shop, and we have some nice things. I'll show you the cup in a minute, but we also have nice T-shirts. I ordered some T-shirts to take with me, but it seems like those T-shirts are not going to get here in time for me to take to Philly. Sad, but I'll show you them when they come in when I get back to Houston. But go to store.politicsdoneright.com. If you are going to be at Netroots Nation, please go to store.politicsdoneright and come and surprise me with a T-shirt on, with Politics Done Right T-shirt on. And I tell you what, we'll go live with you on air as soon as you come to my booth on Radio Row with a Politics Done Right t-shirt. I'll throw you on air right away. That is if you want to, of course. So, so come on over to my booth. We're on Radio Row at, it's a coveted position on at Netroots Nation, where we are going to be out there describing and telling folks what's going on out there. By the way, you also get a chance to read online the book that I'm writing called How to Make America Utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. That is online right now. We're working on chapter 4, I think it is. So if you have ideas for that, let us know too, and we'll go ahead and put them out. So please, please, please support the program at patreon.com/politics done right. And I was telling you, we were talking about weight loss, right? And we had Masticator talking about what is our responsibility, etc. Well, guess what? I know what I'm talking about. I had to take control of my life, lose weight, and be fit now to do that, to bring down my blood pressure. And one thing I said I was not going to do is I was not going to use snake oil weight loss programs that tell you, oh, you can do this so easily and it's going to be so easy to do that. Let me tell you, folks, it's not easy at all, and it's not easy to keep it off. I've been off with my weight for, 3 years or so now, and it's not easy. It is hard. But you know what? What I write in this book, which is an essay of the tribulations that I've gone through, I can tell you one thing. It works. Lose weight and be fit now. Again, you subscribe to that, you get the book online. But of course, you can also go to Amazon.com and get the book. But I really would more than anything else, want to get my subscriber base up to thousands. Patreon.com/politics done right. If we can get our subscription base up to thousands, I can get me a producer. I can get me a copy editor. There's a whole lot of things that we need. We just can't afford now. Politics Done Right needs a copy editor. Politics Done Right needs a producer. Right now, I work 16 hours a day to get it all done. I have to call the politicians. I have to call the bloggers. I have to call everybody. I got to contact everybody to get this stuff done. We need help to give you an even better program. Again, subscribe at patreon.com/politics done right. Donate at politicsdoneright.com/donate, or shop at store.politicsdoneright.com. Look, I have to go off to see Elizabeth Warren today. She is giving a speech at the University of Houston that I want to catch, so I'm going to be shutting down our program a bit early today. Welcome aboard Michael Jones, Rene Perpetua, Lee Grant, Alan Drews, and everybody from the crew. And I want to salute all my folks as well on YouTube. Thank you guys so kindly for being there. I want to ask all of you that are watching on YouTube as well as to share this, to tell other people about it, to invite other people to subscribe not only to my YouTube channel, but to subscribe to Politics Done Right on the link that I have on the screen right now. It is so, so, so important. And check it out. We are going to be broadcasting from Philly at Netroots Nation every day. Tuesday, I get in late. Tuesday, I'm going to do my show likely at KPFT here in Houston, then take off to Philly. I'll probably get a show in. I probably won't get a show in on Wednesday, I'll get a live show, but I'll probably do a sort of an impromptu cell phone type show on Wednesday. Thursday, we come full blast. Friday, Saturday. Then Sunday, we're back. Well, Saturday, we may do a show on Saturday. I'm not sure. So we'll see what happens there. But you will always be informed, because if you are subscribed to the YouTube channel, you'll get a notification if you set that up. If you subscribe to my channel on Facebook, The Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies on Facebook, you will also get the notification. Well, I have to get out of here, my dear brothers and my sisters. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And guess what? I am what? You know what it is? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EG BERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3.